Okay, good. Hi. Okay, this is our third level on the sun, and this is a deeper, more profound level, but it's something that people don't know you can do this with the progressions. It goes so deep and it's so alive that we're going to a different depth. And yeah, we're going to relate to the how the I Ching hexagrams are like a zodiac of 64 divisions, how the planets move through the hexagrams and the lines of the hexagrams. We've talked about this. We've looked at it in the natal chart, and we've used it through all of the deeper insights with the classes on the level 8 and most of that. And we've added extra layers into the zodiac that were inherently there from that are also there in the I Ching insights. And the two have developed not exactly independently because they're interwoven with each other, but the I Ching in China took a twist where it was used like horary astrology. You have to ask a question, throw coins, get an answer, and you would get a philosophy or a thing to deal with the situation. However, it was originally written as a zodiac, as a sequence of events, as a sequence of things. When they did the opposites and the set them up by groups of opposites, they set it up 4 divinations. So they made the images a little more extreme and a little more dramatic or melodramatic, so that you would see the extreme and then relate it to the philosophy and the inner teaching behind it. And in that process, 3,000 or 4,000 years, 5,000 years of some of the wisest people ever on the planet have studied these things and contemplated religions, Taoism, Buddhism, Zen, it kind of evolved from it. Tai Chi has evolved from the I Ching. There's whole teachings that have evolved from the I Ching. And at this level of the progressions, when we're watching the progress, sun go through the signs and through the pentans, similar thing. There's pentan, we have the pentan signs of the zodiac with the pentan theme within it, and we have the sub-pentan theme within that. And with the I Ching, we have the zodiac, we have the hexagrams, and within the hexagrams, there's another layer of sub-hexagrams, and within that, there's another layer of sub-hexagrams. So there's 3 different levels, like hours, minutes, seconds, years, months, days. It's just, there's 3 basic levels that are functioning within this at the same time. And they create a kind of guideline or a philosophy or an outlook to what is the meaning of this phase of the cycle, this phase of the teaching. So we're using the astrology to tap into the teachings that are behind the zodiac and within the zodiac, not just the quick wits or the quick ideas or quick associations people have made normally from astrology, but based on teachings of 5,000 years of people reflecting on this, contemplating it, developing, and these teachings are within the I Ching. The main teaching within the I Ching, I think the main thing is to go, life is full of change, there are always changes, and you're always in some stage of change, and until you get to enlightenment or until you get to come to your inner peace. But while you're going through the changes, it becomes important to be part of the changes without doing things wrong, without messing things up, without creating guilt, without blame, they call it. So often you hear in the I Ching, without blame. And really, if you have a guilt, it captures your memories and takes you away. And from the moment it's in the guilt, and it impairs how you're able to function in the moment. So a lot of the I Ching is, the advice is geared to not getting blame and to clearing blames and to removing things. So when you're going off track or in trouble, there tends to be warnings around this. So this is like really appropriate, really valuable for astrology. It's a unity of the East and West, or the old and the new, I guess, of the old and the sort of old. Well, astrology and the I Ching are the same language going way back to before we had written words. There was always a study of the heavens. There's always the awareness of the year and the sun. and we lived by the year and the sun. There was always the phases of the moon, and we saw the cycles of the tides and the weather with the phases of the moon, and the moons and the full moons. And then you had the hours of the day, and the cycles of the day, the three main cycles that have always been, that man has always been aware of, it has always guided our state of being. What we're doing here is we're going to the we're still just working with the progressed sun. We're going to watch the progressed sun going around the chart in a lifetime. And instead of watching the 5-degree pentans, which you'll see really they align with each other, but then they overlap each other. So because the pentagrams are every 5 degrees, the I Ching are every 6 degrees. So they're different divisions and different ideas, but they essentially align with each other. Like you listen to music and you listen to a 3-beat and a 4-beat inside the same 12-beat pattern. Okay, so it's kind of like we had the zodiac and we have our pentans, or we have the zodiacs, 6 zodiacs within the zodiac. It repeats itself every 2 signs. The masculine signs have the spring and summer signs within them. The feminine signs have the fall and winter signs within them. Same theory, same foundation, only instead of the 6 signs, there'll be 5 signs, 5 hexagrams in the cardinal signs, 5 hexagrams in the mutable signs, and there's 6 hexagrams in the fixed signs. And in those 6, 2 overlap, and it only takes 3 degrees. So it fits in to exactly the same kind of pattern as it's the zodiac within the zodiac, but it's across 2 signs. The masculine and feminine is like the fall, winter, and the spring, summer, fall, winter, the light and the dark. And then on the sub level, there's because we have a pentan system, we have a zodiac every 10 degrees, and it repeats itself 36 times around the whole wheel. There's a sub level of hexagrams that go along with this every 10 degrees, the whole 64 hexagrams, the whole 360 degrees. So this is the cycle. It's hours, minutes, seconds, years, months, days. It's 3 levels. You could say federal, provincial, municipal politics, if you want to take it that way. Okay, so again, this is just some of the same drawings from the pentans, but they really, instead of having the 6 signs, you'll see the 5 hexagrams or the 6 things. So we've looked at these in other places. I don't have the drawings for them here right now, but we're going to go ahead. We had our pentans, sub-pentans. Just you get the sense of the vibrations, the frequencies, and the 3 levels functioning all together. Like a symphony. So this whole symphony is set just by the zodiac itself, by any cycle, whether it's the zodiac, whether it's the houses, whether it's the aspects, phases of the moon, it has these 3 levels happening within it. In astrology, we work with really gross, a few main aspects, whatever, and some minor aspects, but we don't really, we understand the zodiac. Sometimes people use the decans, but the pentans are really useful. It's the next step in. The sub-pentans are the next step in again, in the same way with the hexagrams, the sub-hexagrams, the sub-hexagrams, they keep going deeper. And how much can you learn? How much can you study? Well, when you're looking at your natal chart, all this stuff is there, and you can make sense of the 3 levels. You can see the 3 levels of planets in the signs, when a planet's there and angles there. You can sense this. You sense it with the hexagrams too. You're just tuning into a different thing. But when we get into the progressions, we have our star charts, and I mean, really, we're just working through the star charts. We got the events, the aspects, the signs, the pentans down the side, the hexagrams on the side with the names. The hexagrams are put here. This is for Scorpio. It's the progression of my sun through Scorpio, and we have the dates, and the dates that we calculate are put in here for these, exactly for the aspects, and I've written down what happened to me at those times. So I've got my life somewhat organized. Now I begin to be able to look at the implications of these things. So you can see, it's one thing to see that progressed sun conjunct Jupiter, or conjunct Mercury, or conjunct Mars, or squared Pluto. We can see those things, and we begin to look for things associated to those Plutonian things, Mercurial things, Martian things. We look at these factors. That's one level, but that's looking at direct aspects. When you're looking at the implications of it, the implications, just like you have a planet in a house, it produces energy in the house, but it's colored by the attitude of the sign. So you have the attitudes of the sign coloring the planets. Well, just as the attitudes, there's sub-attitudes, there's subtler attitudes, there's subtler attitudes. There's a whole texture to attitudes. And it's hard to stay in tune with all these frequencies. To live that refinedly and be that open, that sensitive is a big challenge. But when we get to progressions, we're looking at 3 months at a time spread out to represent 90 years of life. Wow, we've slowed down time, we've expanded it, and suddenly these smaller divisions come alive. And you can begin to study them in time and watch them across life. And we can see them as phases going through our life. There's 3 levels of phases: the signs of the zodiac, the pentans, the subpentans, the signs of the zodiac, the hexagrams, the subhexagrams, the sub-subhexagrams. So you have, it just keeps getting detailed. With the pentans, it goes down to 50 minutes of a degree division of a zodiac, the subpentans. When you get to the hexagrams, you have each line of a hexagram is a degree of the zodiac. And the degree is active or passive. So as you progress, sun goes, or anything goes through a degree, it can be active or passive. It can be challenging to be encouraging you or enhancing you to be more active or more understanding or more passive, and have to learn from that perspective where you put things out or things happen to you. So this is one of the advantages of what the I Ching brings in. It brings in this active, passive, putting out, taking in, creative, receptive theme within the degrees. And each of these creative, receptive themes, as they're grouped together, they have different hexagrams. Now, I feel that the names of the hexagrams were made for divination, and they were made a little more dramatic, and they're a little sometimes seemingly more negative than positive. But in the teaching, there's a teaching behind it that always has a positive take on it, on how to deal with this challenge. So it takes a little bit to get used to some of the literacy or some of the language around it. There's so many different I Ching books and different styles of it. I've written my own I Ching book. It's called the I Ching, The Sequence of Change, and it works on the sequences. So that's what I'll be using today to work with. Now, it's mostly to show and tell how deep you can go with this. And the proof is in watching yourself and seeing the implications, because in the I Ching, the philosophy is about the implications of change, where it's coming from, where it's going to. How do you get through this without increasing your guilt? How do you evolve and grow through these things in a conscious way? So the sun at Scorpio is the time when nighttime is increasing and nighttime is getting greater. So there's got to be more broken lines than there is solid lines. The broken lines are increasing compared to the solid lines. It's much more about receptivity than activity, although there are strong points of action within it. And